Hello and welcome to this Romeo and Juliet webinar for years 10 and 11. We're looking at Juliet in Act 2 and we're trying to understand some quotations that reveal her character, link to the key themes, and then we analyse them using subject terminology. The first quotation is after Juliet at the ball has met Romeo and she's lamenting the fact that he is a Montague. In this solo speech or soliloquy, as she's on the balcony, she says this: Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. Juliet here, as she speaks with herself, is urgent. She's passionate. She is infatuated. You can see that she's saying that Romeo must take her. She wants to belong to him fully, and she asks him for a huge sacrifice, to doff his name, to reject his identity as if it's no part of him. Obviously, this is simplistic. His name, which could be written on a piece of paper and ripped up, is very much a part of who he is. It's his upbringing. It's his personality. It's his background, his culture. It's a very deep part of him. So it's a simplistic and idealistic and childish idea that his name is not a part of him. And yet you can see the urgency, the passion and the love in this speech. Interesting here that Shakespeare has given a female character a soliloquy, this idea that she's not just a two-dimensional character. There is a depth, there is a passion towards her, about her, that we can learn more through a solo speech. This speech links very much with the idea of private versus public, private love that is a matter of secrecy, that's only between two, but public interest. And if you remember when Romeo came to the Capulets' ball, it was a matter of public interest. Tybalt and Lord Capulet were interested in his presence. So the two figures, Romeo and Juliet, are always fighting against private and public matters. When we think about this in terms of subject terminology, you can see that the speech is in iambic pentameter. And for that name which is no part of thee. This is used throughout the play to show that she and others, but Juliet is a noble and serious character. You can see that the imperative verbs, doff thy name, take all of myself, is this idea of rejection, reject your name, doff it. And the metaphor is if he can just take it off as a piece of clothing and take all of myself. She wants to be fully understood and fully possessed by him. And these personal pronouns, thy and thee, instead of you and yours, shows a sense of intimacy, although they've only met once, and a sense of equality that she sees herself similar to Romeo. Second quotation is here where they're actually in conversation. He eavesdrops, he hears everything she's saying, and then they converse, and they even exchange vows. They decide in Act 2, Scene 2 to be married. However, the nurse interrupts her. She's trying to make sure that Juliet is in bed, and the nurse is interrupting. So Juliet says, but if thou mean'st not well, I do beseech thee, by and by I come, to cease thy strife and leave me to my grief. So this is quite a different side of Juliet. Here, as instead of being passionate and infatuated, she's very confident, she's very determined, she's very bold and insistent. She said, if thou mean'st not well, cease thy strife, leave me to my grief. She's determined that Romeo will not manipulate or exploit her. If he doesn't mean well, if he's only wanting to use her for a short amount of time, she tells him to go away. Now, this is quite significant because it shows a young woman who really knows her mind, but also in terms of the context, we know that for any further intimacy, they have shared a kiss, there must be marriage. This definitely links with the theme of divided loyalty. Juliet is speaking to Romeo I do beseech thee, in 1 second. And then to the nurse, by and by I come. You can see the division. She's trying to give her attention and loyalty to both. And we can see that divided loyalty is very significant for Romeo as well. Finally, thinking about the subject terminology, there's interruption, which shows a secrecy, shown here by the dashes. There's military imagery, cease thy strife, which shows that there's victory and defeat. She doesn't want to be defeated, and there's premeditated strategy that he's trying to conquer her, and she refuses to be conquered. And then the death imagery, leave me to my grief, which shows that when she feels that she might lose his love, there's that sense of remorse. I hope that's helped you understand Juliet in Act 2. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.